Acronyms are abbreviations that use the first letter of each word to form a whole new word, like how the National Aeronautics and Space Administration goes by NASCAR. NASA. And like NASA, acronyms are helpful, cool, and continue to work in zero gravity. But our patience begins to fray when it comes to the many tortured acronyms found in games that were clearly devised to spell out a certain word, or just look cool, or both. I'm looking at you, Tom Clancy's HAWX. Here then are the acronyms games makers clearly worked backwards from, so tortured they violate the Geneva Convention. Along the way, beware spoilers for the following.
Nice of you to join us, sunshine.
Sit down, Red. Beckett, I need to check your visor calibration.
Ideally, if you're in a Spec Ops squad, you want to be inspired by the name embroidered on your mission patch, like SWAT, for instance. That's pretty cool. It's like you're swatting bad guys, like they're bad flies.
Like I said, don't know, don't care. She's a high-value target and we've been tasked to bring her in, so that's what we're going to do.
So bad luck if you've been recruited as a member of the First Encounter Assault Recon, or F.E.A.R. team in survival horror shooter F.E.A.R. Because the main thing your team acronym brings to mind is how bloody scary the stuff you face is on the regs as part of your job. Yeah, like that. Every time you look in the mirror, you're reminded, in back to front writing, that fear is the appropriate state of mind when, for example, you're investigating the twisted operations of a military technology firm that turned a psychic little girl into a terrifying angry psychic ghost monster. Yeah, like that. The management at F.E.A.R. head office must have paid a team of creative consultants, I imagine, a considerable fee for them to assemble a bunch of initials for words that firstly describe the duties of their specialist operators, and secondly, the unpleasant sensation experienced when faced with the threat of harm. And thirdly, for the first-person horror shooter that stars your eponymous squad. Go Team F.E.A.R!
Beckett, Red, Manny will drop you off in front of the building. We'll link up in the lobby.
Shit. Why do I gotta get stuck with Bucket?
Because I don't like crybabies.
Team!
In Prey, protagonist Morgan Yu is having a really bad day. Again. See, Morgan wakes up on the same day twice in a row, only to find out they've been living the same day for years, and now they have to deal with horrible black spaghetti monsters trying to murder them. This not being a military space station, Morgan doesn't have many weapons defense-wise, but does stumble across the glue cannon. With this, I guess you could say Morgan is in a sticky situation.
Oh, boo! It's awful! Don't make that face.
The glue cannon is a gun that shoots an adhesive foam that expands and solidifies, designed to be a tool to trap mimics so that they could be disposed of or safely moved. But for Morgan, it holds the Typhon aliens in place just long enough to be smashed to bits with a few erratic swings of a wrench. Since the glue cannon can also be used to create barriers or plug up holes in piping, you might think the glue cannon was aptly named. But hold it right there, and not with glue. You see, glue isn't spelt like glue, it's spelt G.L.O.O, which means Jellifoam Lattice Organism Obstructor. Ah, of course. In an attempt to separate their special super high-tech foam launcher from a regular glue gun, TranStar gave their special gun's name a sci-fi twist, an abbreviation for a far more technical term to reflect its important scientific uses. Important scientific uses.
Can't hold them off much longer! We need close support, now!
Roger that, Ghost Leader. Be there as soon as we can. Tally, smoke, 6 o'clock, 1 mile, 20 low. Come on, baby.
Tom Clancy's HAWX is a game about an elite fighter pilot waging war on a private military company that's threatening to nuke the US, so it's impressive that the name is the most ridiculous thing about it. In HAWX, you play as David Crenshaw, an Air Force pilot whose team of high-octane colleagues are deactivated by the US military, pushing him into a job with the shady Artemis security firm, who are only too happy to pay top dollar for his elite squadron.
We're glad that you and the other members of HAWX Squadron have decided to accept our offer of employment.
That squadron is a team of highly skilled jet pilots, but if you abbreviate that, you get H.A.W.X, and come on, that's not an acronym that reflects how extreme and bird-like Crenshaw and his buddies are. As such, the acronym in the HAWX title stands for High Altitude Warfare Experimental Squadron. Wait, what? Yeah, it's patently clear that when brainstorming the name for their squadron, the HAWX gang started by figuring out which bird was coolest and worked backwards from there. Not that we'd say that to their faces, not so long as they have access to high-powered air-to-ground missiles.
Good kill, boss. Ground target destroyed, Captain.
Fine, well, if it's that easy, maybe I'll form my own elite fighter squadron. Flamingo. Or flying, landing, and meanwhile initializing non-stop gnarly operations.
That is the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Flamingos never say die.
When the patient woke up, his skeleton was missing, and the doctor was never heard from again. Anyway, that's how I lost my medical license. Archimedes, no!
If you're picking colours for your team-based game, why not go for red and blue? They're easy to tell apart, they look nice, simple. And simple is how it started for Team Fortress 2, the sublimely balanced class-based multiplayer shooter that's nearly a decade old, during which time it's built up a surprisingly rich backstory, at least for a game where one of the most tactical weapons is a jar full of urine. Whether through comics or cinematic little movies, developer Valve has been busy for years, building the game's very basic premise into what is now a wealth of lore. And bizarre acronyms and backstories for the red and blue teams is part of that. The R.E.D. of Red Team, for example, stands for Reliable Excavation Demolition, which is a misleadingly reassuring term, as you would definitely not want this lot resurfacing your patio. The Red Team was, according to backstory, founded by Redmond Man and currently controls half the world's government somehow. The other half is, you guessed it, controlled by the Blue Team, founded by Redmond's brother, Blutarch Man. That's blue as in Builders League United. There's no E. Sure. There's nothing particularly buildery about the Blue Team either, but if you thought these acronyms were baffling, it's nothing on the fictional history of the Mann brothers, who have a long-lost brother called Grey, who, according to official Team Fortress 2 lore, was raised by an eagle, which he later ate. Yeah, suddenly blue without an E isn't the thing that needs most explaining.
Do you remember F.E.A.R, the luck dragon from Neverending Story? I always felt like he was missing something. It wasn't until we played Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon that we realised what that thing was. Namely, a hydraulically powered terror cannon and titanium trauma plates, which are just some of the features to be found on the neon-lit rideable killing machine that hero Rex Power Colt encounters in the game's late stages. Meet the battle-armoured dragon assault strike system. Ah, yeah, I see. I get it. Very droll. You know, we can't even stay mad. This all too brief chunk of the game is such a gleeful laser-powered slaughterfest that the twisted backronym for your dragon pal will be the last thing on your mind. Sadly, your dragon pal proves to be not that unkillable after all, and kicks the bucket after being shot in the eye by baddie Colonel Ike Sloan. Oh well, I guess we've always got F.E.A.R. I can't even look at you right now.
Miss Brimstone, your so-called specialists just tore up downtown Seoul. We're paying you to raise an army of agents, not a street gang.
If you are getting cold feet, then go beg someone else to save the world from Legion. Otherwise, just sign the checks and shut up.
You know S.H.I.E.L.D. in Marvel movies and how it's like an open secret that they want their name to spell S.H.I.E.L.D. because it sounds strong and defensive? Yeah, well, how would you feel about a super agent team called Mayhem? Not good, probably. And yet that's the situation facing the citizens of a futuristic Seoul, South Korea, in upcoming open-world game Agents of Mayhem. An overblown and crude-humoured shooter that makes much more sense as a concept when you realise it's set in the same universe as the Saints Row games.
Give me a goddamn deep dish!
The quirky agents that star in this game are collectively known as Mayhem, a group devoted to stopping the nefarious Dr. Babylon.
I should have known.
And to win the day, they'll have to pull out all the stops because their enemies are Legion. No, really, their enemies are literally Legion, the League of Evil Gentlemen intent on obliterating nations. Oh god, that one actually hurt. But if you thought that acronym stabbed at your sense of grammatical decency, it's nothing on the Mayhem team itself, whose name is a more uncomfortable stretch than the downward-facing dog. Brace yourself as we reveal that Mayhem stands for Multinational Agency Hunting Evil Masterminds. Oh, no. Oh, that's hurt. Someone get a doctor. That's not acceptable.
Power up complete. Thank you for purchasing this item from GAD Science Incorporated.
This is Professor E.G.A.D., an inventor in the Mario universe. He looks like a friendly chap, right? Well, just know that this man was responsible for perhaps the most painful acronym in gaming history. E.G.A.D. is no stranger to wild contraptions, having been the brains behind the ghost-trapping vacuum machine that Luigi deploys in Luigi's Mansion. He's also perfectly capable of coming up with decent names for his inventions. For instance, dubbing this spectre-sucking modified vacuum cleaner the, wait for it, Poltergust 3000. Oh, Professor E.G.A.D., where did it all go wrong? The answer is with the invention of F.L.U.D, the water cannon that the world's most mushroom-adoring plumber uses to get around and solve puzzles in Mario Sunshine. From a consumer standpoint, F.L.U.D is something of an enigma. Though its main purpose is spraying water, its high-powered twin nozzles can also be used to glide gracefully through the air. Oh, and did we mention it's fully sentient?
Data analysis verifies that the island's inhabitants are indeed troubled by pollution.
Pretty nifty, but if E.G.A.D. wants to take this thing mass market, he needs a snappy sell. So let's see what F.L.U.D stands for, eh? Flash Liquidizer Ultra Dousing Device. Yeah, I don't think Best Buy is going to go for that. The name is obviously a play on F.L.U.D, but if that's the case, why didn't they work backwards from the letters F.L.U.D? I guess it's a mystery for the ages. Besides, F.L.U.D may have a stupid name, but it's hard to stay mad at this plucky little appliance, especially when it gets broken at the end of the game and dies in Mario's arms.
Mario, was I
Okay, I need to go hug my vacuum cleaner now.
Vacation starts now.
So there are some of the strangest acronyms in games that they clearly came up with before they came up with the entire name. I mean, some of them are ridiculous. Can you think of any others? Let us know in the comments down below. And don't say that we did that, because we didn't. Outside Xtra is not called Outside Xtra just because it's the same letters as Outside Xbox. Xtra is a real word, and you can't prove otherwise. Anyway, you should watch one of these videos from Outside Xtra and Outside Xbox that just happen to have the same letters. It's nothing weird. You should also subscribe to us because we're really cool and we've got a really cool name. It's Xtra because we're cool.